Hey gang, Jake here. 2022 has been an incredible year for games, arguably the best we've had since like 2017. We've had tons of new releases, some of which I even played, so I want to talk about the ones that stuck out to me. We're going to cover as much as possible, so strap in, grab some water, and let's talk about the games that made 2022. Before we begin, I want to clarify that even if a lot of these games have big flaws, I'm really just going to cover the positives. This is already a crammed video, and it's going to be more efficient and more fun to write if I just focus on the good. With that, let's start with Gunvolt Chronicles, Luminous Avenger X2. Even if this is one of the weaker Gunvolt games, it's still a Gunvolt game, and there's a ton that I love about it. The characters, the lore implications, the introduction of alternate dimensions, the music, they're all just really raw and compelling. On top of that, even if it did it through some scummy means, this game introduced me to Cogen Sword of Rewind and the Dusk Diver games, both of which I actually really enjoyed. So I've still got plenty to like about this game. Maybe I'll have to give it a replay. Immediately following LAX2, we got Pokemon Legends Arceus, which honestly has a ton of rad concepts to demonstrate. This may just be my favorite Pokemon story yet, and Jubilife Village and the cast of characters you work with have become some of my favorite characters in the Pokemon universe, even as someone who's never really cared about Sinnoh. The changes Legends made to the gameplay and storytelling of Pokemon are a massive improvement, and if they get picked up for the series' next releases, whether that's another Legends game or whatever mainline game follows Scarlet and Violet, we could see a bright future for Pokemon yet. Jumping forward a bit, I'd like to discuss Splatoon 3, because this game may be the most fun I've had with a multiplayer game outside of Smash in a long time. I've been playing Splatoon for a hot minute, and while I enjoyed 2 ever since launch, it's never really been one of my favorites because I only ever played it alone. 3 was different in that now I have friends to play with, and let me tell you, it makes all the difference. Between the new quality of life adjustments 3 makes, the fun I've had showing up 5-year-olds in Turf War, and the terror I've felt getting my ass beat in Salmon Run, I've got a lot to appreciate Splatoon 3 for. Now, before I get to my top 3 for 2022, I want to quickly cover a few indie games that have really entertained me and inspired me as someone who admires indie studios. First off, as previously mentioned, Cogen Sword of Rewind is an intense, methodical, and severely entertaining action platformer. And if it weren't for the fact that the second story is really damn hard, I think it would be all I played until March. Soundfall is another really fun game. Stuff like the rhythm gameplay and the designs stand out super well, but the obvious high point is the music. There's just a ton to love there, and the fact that you can make your own dungeons with your own music is so impressive and cool. Neon White is a stellar experience that presents a unique and compelling style in its presentation and gameplay, and the incentives it uses to encourage speedrunning make crunching levels for hours on end to maximize your ace medals immensely satisfying. Plus, Machine Girl's OST and the voice cast performances add another layer to what was already a really damn stacked cake. Gunvolt 3 is in an interesting spot, because while I've got my issues with it, and it's definitely not my favorite in the series, I can't deny that Kirin is one of the most fun action platformer characters I have ever seen, and the cast of this game is really damn strong. If episode attempts can keep up the gameplay of the main game and improve on the story, we could have another Gunvolt classic on our hands. Framemakers is, predictably, still looking great. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to play the backer build, but from what I've seen, the game seems like one of the smoothest platform fighters in recent memory. And the fact that they're still grabbing characters like Gunman Clive and fucking Nico from One Shot is really damn exciting. I know I've slowed down pretty substantially on Framemakers content, but it's still one of my most anticipated games, and I can't wait to hop back into the discussion of it once we get more news. Lastly, I know it's kinda cheating, but since the Switch port came out this year, I'm gonna allow it. Omori is one of the most interesting games I've ever played. There's not a ton I can say about it, because it really is best enjoyed blind, but this game just has a way of enthralling you in its world and characters, and despite the fact that I spent very limited time with them, they've quickly become some of my favorites in all of video games. It's just a really damn beautiful game, and if there's one on this list that I think everyone watching this video should play, it's Omori. I can't quite give it my game of the year though. No, before we get to that, there's 2 games that I want to talk about, because in a slower year, either of these could have been the one to take it all for me. First off, Pokemon Violet is a joy to experience. This is another one where I'm pretty biased, because for the most part, my game didn't really bug out, and this was the first Pokemon game I got to play with friends. But even without those, I think this game would be pretty high on my list. The freedom Scarlet and Violet give you is such a nice refresher, and after Sword and Shield's relatively weak story, making 3 separate campaigns, all of which present some strong characters, and wrapping it up in what just might be the best finale in a Pokemon game I've played is an incredible change of pace. I really hope the Pokemon Company slows down after this, because I think just about every flaw Scarlet and Violet has can be fixed with more time in the oven. And if they take that into account for the next updates this game gets, on top of what they learned with Legends Arceus, Pokemon could go back to being a JRPG GOAT. Next, I want to talk about Sonic Frontiers. I know this game has polarized members of the Sonic community, and I get it, but with everything that the game does right, and the stuff it puts its heart and soul into, I think there's no denying it's an incredible victory for the franchise. Seeing Ian Flynn breathe life into these characters once again is amazing, and while I get that his interpretations of them aren't for everyone, I feel like he makes a damn strong case here. The somber aesthetic of the Starfall Islands feels so atmospheric, and even stuff as simple as running across them to get to new objectives is immensely satisfying. The cyberspace levels present some great challenges and some Neon White-esque speedrunning satisfaction, and as someone who's only actually beaten one Sonic game, borrowing a lot of level aesthetics and portions doesn't really bother me. From the game's combat to its boss battles, what Sonic Frontiers lacks in character action game depth, it makes up for in character action game spectacle. And I may sound like a broken record, but I cannot wait to see the future of this series if Frontiers is any indicator. Finally, it's time to cover my game of the year, and if you've made it this far and know me or my tastes whatsoever, you know the answer already. Xenoblade 3 won the instant it released. This game does nearly everything right. It's incredible. The story is a beautiful tale of fighting to truly live in a broken world, and it's acted out by some of the best performances in not just Xenoblade, but any game I can think of. I don't know how Harry McIntyre did what he did for this role, but it made for one of the most memorable characters in the series, and one of my favorite protagonists in fiction. On top of that, the gameplay is incredible. It takes from the snappy moment-to-moment gameplay of 1 and adds the nuance and diversity of 2 for what's easily the best in the series. That's made better by the fact that the side quests are also easily the best in the mainline games, meaning they're consistently satisfying to work through to help the people of Ionios. Playing through it, Xenoblade 3 feels like more than a game to me. It's an achievement, a glimmering ideal of what games can be, and a celebration of everything that Xenoblade is and has been for over 10 years. It'll always hold a special place in my heart for that. Not just as my game of the year for 2022, but as one of my favorite games of all time. So that's that, and now we can put a bow on 2022. I feel like a lot's changed since the last one of these videos, but it's a nice opportunity to just sit down and talk about the games that really matter to me. So I'm glad I managed to make it to this one. Here's to many more videos and many more great games to come. I want to thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate anybody who watches these less focused videos. Y'all's support really does mean the world to me. And I hope I was able to entertain you for however long this video ends up being. With all that said, I've got a busy semester coming up, so I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.